I'm going to explain how I would go about drawing a flower. So here I've got a real daffodil and a photo of a daffodil. So you have the option of using either. Obviously drawing from life is harder. You're taking a three-dimensional object and trying to turn it into a two-dimensional drawing. And any change in your eye position will change how the flower looks and makes it harder to capture it. So to simplify things, I'm going to use the photograph. Let me zoom in so you can see more closely what I'm doing. So it's easiest definitely to try and draw what you're looking at the same scale, so you're not having to worry about making it bigger or smaller. You can just focus on getting the shapes in the right place. And to do that, I usually start by just trying to imagine that onto the page, and sometimes I just move my pencil around without even drawing any lines, just to get an idea of where it's going and how it's going to look. My top tip for drawing anything is to begin by just doing some light, rough shapes to get things in the right sort of place, and to lay them out where they need to be. So I'm just drawing a circle for the trumpet and some big oblongs for the ovals for the petals. So I can see immediately a few things that aren't quite right. That petal needs to be a bit bigger. This one down here is a bit bigger. This one's a bit more pointy. I'm not worried at all about having surplus lines that weren't quite right, because to me they add interest, they add personality, and they tell the journey that the drawing has gone on from a blank sheet to a final picture. So when I'm happy I've got the rough layout right, I then take the next step of just working into it in a bit more detail and with a bit more commitment, and maybe pressing a little bit harder and refining things, looking for little dimples and changes in direction that are part of the real flower. Work my way around. So there's a big overlap here. Can't quite see which petal's on top of which, but doesn't matter. That one's in front. And you can vary the firmness of the pencil. Where things are less clear, you can go more lightly. Where it's a strong line, press harder. There's some interesting things going on this leaf. A bit of a curl, petal. And then for the trumpet, I'm not going to try and get it exactly right, but you need to give that feeling of a crinkly edge. And the more closely you observe it, the more accurate it's going to be. And it is by far the more complicated part of the picture. And there's a big indent there. My initial circle here was a bit small. You've got all these complicated things going on with this stamen. So that's pretty much the outline done. You could draw in the stem. And you could say that's a finished drawing. So I've added in a little bit of the shading, just that starts to make it a little bit more three-dimensional. In an area like this, I've tried not to be too kind of regimented and controlled, just keep giving it a bit of life. It's an organic living thing after all. Inside the trumpet here there's some quite subtle shadows that get darker as you go in, and some stronger shadows in between these stamen. There's some shadowing on the inside of these curls, and it gets lighter as you come around to here. All of this gives that feeling of 3 dimensions. In between these petals there's some nice strong shadows where the petals curl round. So just work your way around, and don't worry that the pencil marks look like imperfect pencil marks. This is a pencil drawing, it's not meant to be a photograph. These random marks are what give it interest. Often helps to step back and squint and see where there's some of the shadows and tone missing. That half of this petal is a little darker. Keep your pencil moving so you don't get too fussy and controlling. I think we're pretty much there. Do you think the middle of this trumpet's dark enough? See, I'm making marks that suggest the shape of the item as well as making it darker. Okay, I think we'll stop there. There's one drawing of a daffodil.